So we finally destroyed Skull Shatterer. We got through 3-8, and I wanted to share my experience. If you guys have been following on Discord, you know that I've been struggling with this one. This is going to be the team, no support unit. Thank God I was able to finally get through this thing. Now, I will explain at the very beginning here what the thought process was and why I feel like I had so much difficulty with it. So let's go ahead and pause it. The first thing, if you guys don't know what Skull Shatterer does, she has kind of a delay. She'll walk up here and kind of taunt you a minute. And then she does like a hot lap, basically like, hey, screw you. I'm going to destroy everything that you have. And then I'm going to walk through your defenses. So my first initial thought was like, okay, let's do as much damage as I possibly can while she's standing over here. But by the time she got over here, she was like half health, and she gets kind of a buff at half health, and then she just destroys everything. The other thought was like, okay, well, maybe, you know, I set up a units here and stuff like that, get her half health, and then I redeploy everybody and have her walk around. But it just never really worked, because what ended up happening is the right side would either get taken over by whoever was running through there, like the wolves and stuff like that, or she'd destroy everything anyway because she's really, really strong. So I finally came up with this strategy, which I think works pretty well. So I'd put my Vanguard out, Vanilla, and then I put Fang out. Now, the reason I was using Fang is because initially my strategy was to actually have the 2-block Vanilla and the 2-block Fang right behind her, just in case anybody walked to the next, like to the side of her or whatever. I would be able to have somebody there to guard, but it made more sense to have them just both attacking at the same time. And I found that it actually killed most of the enemies here on that right side for a very long time. We'll talk about restructuring after we kill Skull Shatterer, because the idea was, what can I do to get just 2 units up here to really just take the bulk of what's going on there with the flow, and then to put most of my units on the Skull Shatterer to hopefully kill her as quick as I can. So for a minute here, it's pretty slow. I do put my defender down once I proc some of the skills here, and then I think that I put Midnight behind her. I really like to use that combo, not just in this case. I really feel like it's a good combo with Vanguards and Defenders as well, just to put Midnight behind, because he does pretty good damage, and plus his range is pretty good, so he can kind of attack through people. So the idea, though, is to have a healer out. Hopefully this team up here kind of stays here for a long time, and I don't have to worry too much about it, which actually ended up working out to my favor. Because as you'll start to find out, that I put pretty much every unit that I have to make this little box to screw over Skull Shatterer, because screw her and screw what she does. So basically the idea, though, is to always have somebody on top of her, because she does so much AoE if she's not just being constantly smacked and has like kind of somebody in her face. Okay, you'll kind of see it when she walks over here. So I lay down the sniper. This is basically just getting everything prepped. You can see that she starts to do this AoE. So it doesn't really hurt that much at the very beginning, but once her health gets to 50%, she does a lot of damage, man, and it's nuts. So that's one thing that I struggled with, is like, okay, I have to have somebody on top of Skull Shatterer, or she's just going to destroy everything. So she just kind of walks up nonchalantly, like whatever. I put out another AoE healer because I'm not having anybody die. You can see that up here, these Vanguards are actually doing a very good job at keeping the flow to a minimum. And then I'm just like, okay, I think I actually put down my caster here as well. It's just like kind of a middle finger to this chick. I'm like, screw you, bust everybody's abilities. You can see up here to the right, we're doing good. We're getting here. They have buffed themselves. I'm like, okay, screw you anyway. And then I got to this point. So I got to this point kind of earlier on, but then I was like, okay, well, that's cool. And then I was like super happy, but then I never got to that point before. And then all of a sudden these drones started coming and I'm like, oh crap. And then I didn't think to redeploy. So I was just kind of screwed. But this time I got rid of the caster. She didn't really do anything in there. After the Skull Shatterer, I put out my sniper and then just kind of let it flow for a little bit. I went ahead and I kept my guard here just because the box kind of helps out. I mean, I don't think she needed to be there, honestly. But once these bigger units come, she does help out quite a bit, especially having Midnight doing the arts damage. But this is kind of the flow for everything. Swap out to the defender there, Blimmenshine, my girl. She's a stun queen, so I let her stay up there. And then you can see it gets a little overflowed with the fat man, but we have our 2-star caster there, or 3-star caster to kind of help out. And then that guy's gone. And then I can pop her all, you know, go through it. And yeah, so this is pretty much like the bread and butter that I have for a little bit here. We start to get some of these units. I can't stand these units, dude. I can't wait to get to the next chapter to stop seeing the invisible. I hate the invisible dudes. Most annoying mechanic that I've came across. So yeah, this is kind of what goes on. We have a couple of these invisible dudes. Doesn't really matter. We have a pretty good guard system here, so they're not going to walk too far up. Plus this little box that was Skull Shatterer. Every single person that walks into it has to feel the wrath and the hatred that I have for Skull Shatterer. So screw them. That's what they get. That's what you get for being on their team. Just the constant overkill. No, we don't need this little box for these guys, but we're doing it. I kind of just left everybody alone. Yeah, I could have probably reprioritized stuff, but it was working. So I was like, whatever, I'll just let it kind of go through. And that's basically the gist of it. The biggest part was just the Skull Shatterer stuff. I had so many different times where I was using support units, all kinds of different stuff, and it really wasn't helping, which really taught me something. Is the fact that it matters more not to just have unlimited firepower. Yes, you can brute force a lot of things, but on missions like that, it really does matter to have positioning. I could use like the best supports and some of the strongest units that support has to offer, and I still couldn't do it because my positioning was just garbage. So it really taught me like, hey, I got to kind of think outside of the box and try to think like, how do I kill this thing as fast as I can while also maintaining different paths. So it was really cool, and I was really happy to kind of get through it. It's one of those Dark Souls moments where you're fighting this boss for a very long time and it's like, finally, bro, finally it's done. So I'm happy to jump through. I think I got a couple more missions and then we'll go on to chapter 4 and we'll see what else is kind of awaiting for me there. So anyway, guys, that's all I have for this one. Have a good rest of your night, guys. Peace.